The next administration's war on the environment is not going to be limited to simply placing as the head of the EPA a guy whose interests line up almost wholly with those of the fossil fuel industry. Now, the Trump transition team is actually putting into effect a plan that looks like the beginning stages of a purge of the Department of Energy. The transition team has asked the agency to list employees and contractors who attended United Nations climate meetings, along with those who helped develop the Obama administration's social cost of carbon metrics used to estimate and justify the climate benefits of new rules. The advisors are also seeking information on agency loan programs, research activities, and the basis for its statistics. Now, some of that in the second graphic, I could justify why they might want to know about that. I would hope that if Hillary Clinton had won, she would be looking into that as much as possible. But trying to track down people who went to meetings having to do with the climate, that is a sinister undertone that I think is pretty clear. In addition, the memo also singled out the department's Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy, ARPA-E unit, which has helped support research and development of clean energy projects, I should say. And so they're basically trying to identify all of the people who are helping to put into effect the Obama administration's somewhat limited attempts to protect the environment, whether it has to do with methane or carbon or anything like that, the development of clean energy technologies. And a number of politicians have spoken out against this. Most people don't seem to know that when you come in, you don't simply take the entire Department of Energy or any other department, send everybody home, and then put in your own people. That is a recipe for having a government that can't actually function. What generally happens is the top 10% of all those departments have new leadership. And then the people who are career civil servants, who aren't necessarily ideological in nature, but know how to actually do the job, remain from president to president. That's how it functions. To go from top to bottom and attempt to weed out, based on ideology, the people you don't like, it's at odds with everything that presidents have done in recorded American history.
So when Obama came into office, he didn't say, okay, give me all the Bush guys. Okay, they're gone. So like John said, of course you get new leadership, and that's what a new president gets to do. Nobody's begrudging that. I don't like his new leadership at all. We're obviously super honest about that. But in terms of the people who actually do the job, just let me put it in this context. If you've got transportation, you got people who are experts on roads and vehicles, and you fire those guys because you want to put your political hacks in the office. If you put somebody above them, that's what you're supposed to do. And you say, hey, I don't like transportation. Let's just stop the highways. Okay, that's your call. That's a political decision, right? But if you say, hey, fire all the competent people who know how to handle transportation, not a good idea if you're a Democrat or a Republican. In the case of the Environmental Protection Agency, there are scientists. How do you measure climate change? How do you, whether you agree or disagree with it politically, right? What are the facts? What's the data? If you fire all the scientists, you know who did this before? The Bush administration. So when they were going into Iraq, Don Rumsfeld, as Secretary of Defense, fired everybody who could speak Arabic. What? You're going into a country that speaks Arabic? That's exactly the guys you need. Otherwise, you're not even going to be able to communicate. He's like, they're Arabist apologists, by definition.
Well, they're capable of apologizing in Arabic. That's the first step to bad things.
And so then when they went in, they bungled it. Part of it was they literally couldn't communicate with people because they fired all the people who had the know-how to do the communication. It is a recipe for disaster.
And there's another example of this, actually. I mean, they want those studies shut down because they fear what the data will show. And we have this right now in terms of gun violence and gun deaths. Those scientific projects have not been possible at the federal level for a number of years because their funding has been stripped. Because the NRA apologists in the Senate and the House on the Republican and Democratic side don't want you to know how bad the problem is.
And John, though, you said this will make it so that government can't function. But there's the rub. That's what they want. The famous Grover Norquist line from a long time ago when he said, I want to shrink the government down to a size where it's so small I could drown it in a bathtub. So here they are. They're going to eviscerate any competence in the government. And then when the government absolutely botches everything in their sight, they're going to turn around and go, see, look at what the government did. We told you we shouldn't have a big government. We shouldn't have any government. Let's go to chaos so that all my billionaire friends can loot, and not have any cops on the street.
Yeah. You want a little bit of irony added onto the top of this? Mm-hmm. So he's been, I mean, there's all of this, but then there's everything else that we've reported. He's incredibly aggressively opposed to the environment and it continuing to be there. He's going to pull us out of the climate accords, get rid of all the Obama administration environmental regulations and things like that, pull funding from those projects as we described here. Which you might think, well, yeah, his supporters, put him in office. That's different than what we might have gotten in another case. And so they just get what they want. Except not so much, because according to the Public Opinion Strategies poll that came out recently, 75% of Trump voters want him to accelerate development of clean energy technology.
He's going to do the exact opposite. He's going to kill all clean energy programs. So you thought you were getting something, and you got something else entirely. And if you look, some of his supporters will say, yeah, but what does he think about brown people? Okay, good, then do whatever you want. But some of them are going to go, wait a minute, I didn't tell you to tell every oil company who gave you campaign donations to gut all regulations and then to do crony capitalism to kill off clean energy that actually was creating jobs here in America. And now that you're going to kill those jobs because your donors wanted you to put Scott Pruitt in as the head of the EPA, a guy who has repeatedly sued the EPA. You put him in to destroy that department. Okay, now some conservatives are against any idea of climate change and are against, any regulations of the government. You're against it until all of a sudden there's poison in the river next to you, and there's poison in the air that your kids breathe. But once that comes, then you're going to be angry. And so, okay, you think, no, he's going to hurt everybody else but me. But the air and the water is everybody's.
Yep.
So, and we all live on the same planet. So I know sometimes it doesn't appear that way. Okay, but we do. And you might be in for a rude awakening when these chickens come home to roost. Young Turks membership.
I can't tell you how good that feels and how good that tastes.
Find out, tytnetwork.com/join.